Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, stream. Welcome to an interview video with RGSACE. Thank you very much, Joker, for the follow. Let's get RGSACE in here. He has been very kind enough to meet with me.
Hello.
Hey, Ace, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. You?
I'm good. Hope it's all right. We make videos and you're on stream.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
So how have you been, man?
I've been good, just busy working. What about yourself?
Same. Metabuff obviously has me quite busy and lots of life things, and it's crazy busy. Still haven't found a game, to be honest with you.
Oh well, I mean, hopefully it's core. I guess that's what you guys are calling it, right?
Yes.
Hopefully that's the one. I'm looking forward to it. I saw the teaser or trailer. That looks really good. So that's why I reached out.
Absolutely. That's only the beginning. So do you
Uh,
want do you want me to start with my questions for
yeah,
you,
yeah.
or do
You go with your stuff, because I'm sure like that might lead to more questions for me. So you go ahead.
Sure. And then yeah, we can just kind of talk. You can ask questions that come to mind as well throughout it.
Sure.
Okay, so the first topic is hero design. First one is, should heroes be designed strictly around core themes / gameplay niches? This kind of harkens to the fact that a lot of heroes in Paragon weren't necessarily very unique, or a lot of the mages were
Mm-hmm.
very similar, like Howitzer, Bellica, or not Howitzer, Gideon, Gadget. Like the Qs are all the same, and
Yeah,
AOE
yeah.
ultimates, like etc. What do you think about that?
You know what, actually, the thing is, okay, so a little background. So before, when I started playing Paragon, I was like, damn, they should definitely make heroes more interesting than what they are. Like you said, they're quite similar, right?
Right.
And then after I like towards the end of Paragon, I started a company, and then a tech company, and then I realized how difficult actually all of these things are to do. We weren't making a game or anything, but you kind of understand that keeping stuff as simple as possible in the early stages before you have what's known as product market fit, which basically means,
Right.
are people going to play it, and are these people coming back? That's not what Paragon had. It didn't have product market fit in a sense of like, they wanted millions of people to play it, for example. And so when you don't have product market fit, you shouldn't be focusing on what I call like luxury items. So like heroes, they're essentially luxury items, right? Because you could have 10 good heroes, and as long as those 10 are good enough and people come back, then you're like, cool, people are coming back. We can build on this and we can add more heroes. But I just think Paragon and Epic knew that they didn't have what's known as product market fit. And so all these heroes started to, they were like quite similar, right? To reduce the workload on creating all these fancy heroes. Because me and you both know that there was a lot more fancy heroes coming, right?
Oh
But they
yeah.
were like 2, 3 years down the line. And that's because they were there for after product market fit. So when you're making a new game like the core, it makes sense to keep the heroes as simple as possible, because that also allows you to constantly change the core mechanics of a game without having to worry about breaking complex abilities or rebalancing complex abilities. When the queues are quite similar and when everything is quite similar, as a developer and like now as a company that you guys are, it just makes everything infinitely easier. You also have to remember that every second you guys spend is time, right? And time is money as a business. So
Yeah.
you want to keep things super simple. So I think focusing on, like we said, making everything the same, although it doesn't sound great from a player standpoint, to ensure longevity of any business, that's always the right way to go. So making Bellica Q and Gideon Q and how it's a Q how they were before is a good idea. And then once you guys see that, hey, retention is at 45%, 50%, which is pretty good, then you can start adding cool stuff in. But until then, in my opinion, it's just a bad idea. And the
All right.
game inside of me is saying, like, hey, put some cool shit in the game.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's like you could put a really cool hero in, but if the core mechanics don't work, then now you got to refigure all that out, and you spent so long making this really cool hero. That's just my opinion, though. Sorry, it's kind of a long-winded answer.
Hey, that's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely, that makes very much sense. Now, how do you balance that? Slash, what? How would you make, at least through the heroes? How would you design, change, adapt, make the heroes to best ensure product market fit?
I think it comes down to like what the core's vision is, and I haven't really looked too much into it. But are you guys basically trying to remake Paragon, or are you trying to remake Paragon and then put your own twist on it? It kind of comes down to like, what are you guys trying to do? So, are you
Right.
trying to make Paragon or?
Essentially, keep its spirit. Keep that's
Okay.
core, like the heroes, their core themes, the map, the well, have a balanced and effective map, one that's not broken like either Legacy or Monolith. That's
Yeah.
still that works as a MOBA, but with heavy themes taken from Legacy, both art style and actually some features as well,
Yep.
and even what worked with Monolith too. Um, so it's essentially like a spiritual successor, but with proven mechanics that work across the MOBA genre, taken in and improved, just improve it as a MOBA, and also obviously
Okay.
3D shooter. Um, so does that kind of
Yeah, that okay, so when you say spirit, I guess that's kind of like what you think of Paragon spirit and what I think is probably different to what anyone else thinks. Like it's all individual, right?
right?
Um, but when it comes down to like you said, you want to take elements of the map and you kind of want to build on basically what Epic started, I guess. You kind of want to finish it and then build on top of it.
Right.
If it was me, what I would do personally is I would take Monolith and I would make Monolith, just reconstruct it. Because I think that's a better map than Legacy. Like none of them are perfect, right?
No.
But I think Monolith provides a better starting base to like kind of jig around the map. You can make it bigger, you can add different elements, you could maybe add OP dunking, like I think, but you then get to use this whole starting base that Epic had, right? And balanced all these heroes on. And then you can like start fine tuning things. So you can see, hey, what happens if we make the map 10% larger,
Right.
right? What happens at when it's 10% larger? What happens when we add dunking? What happens when we add this, right? And because you've now had this baseline that's already existed for a year, you don't have to spend that extra year that you would when you make this new map, right? Once you make this new map, you don't have any data to go upon, right? You're
Right.
starting from fresh. You don't know what the match times are going to be when you release it. They could end up being 20 minutes, or they can end up being an hour.
Right.
If you start from like a baseline that already existed, so you might even start from Legacy, right? I'm just using Monolith as an example
Right.
because that's probably the one me and you remember the most. But if you start from Monolith and then you build upon it, expand upon that map itself, then it allows you to develop a better understanding because you've also played on it. So you already
Right.
know what Monolith should feel like, how the pace of the game should go. But if you start on a new map, I feel like it's a bit difficult to kind of understand. And I know your question was about the heroes, but I think it comes more down to the map because I think if you have a great map, then you can design cool heroes around that. But if you have a rubbish map and amazing heroes, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you're
Right.
still playing on a rubbish map. So I think yeah,
So okay, so we definitely have a baseline. We have
yeah,
a point of reference somewhere along. I'll say Monolith. We
yeah.
definitely have a reference point that we're going off of, in terms of all the numbers and um, all the gameplay systems that define a lot of the things that you were just talking about, like match length
Yeah.
and just kind of combat and hero numbers and hero design, stuff like that. Um, it's actually quite interesting because this map that playing right here and that you've seen that
Yeah.
trailer is it's it's actually ironically very similar to kind of Monolith, but
Okay.
with like legacy scale. So we've it's I can't really it's a really cool implementation of both of them with some fancy a lot of math. Essentially, I did a lot of math in
Yeah.
figuring out like good rotation times and
Yeah.
sizes of combat or combat areas, like that made sense, and then trying to look at base fundamental units and just kind of think of how that felt versus how big the spaces were. So it's a very interesting meld of legacy and monolith that you see here that that hopefully will produce a bit. There's one point in monolith that we're kind of aiming to have like gameplay wise, but still obviously
Yep.
different and still our own and stuff like that. So
Okay, no, so like that's great, right? Because that's basically what I was saying you guys are already doing, which
yeah,
is like perfect. And so like you said, you've done the math to figure out now how long should it take you to rotate from mid to the
oh,
offlane or
absolutely,
whatever. Yeah, so now because you've done that, when you make a hero, you're like, cool, we can give this hero a teleport, for example, right? But that teleport can only go X units, or we can give this hero a double dash, but the double dash can only go X units, or we can't give this hero a double dash because that makes rotations way too quick. So
yeah,
that's why having a good map and a good understanding and a baseline then allows you to make really cool heroes because now you know what you can and can't give a hero. Or if you do give a hero like a double dash, right? Then it can't do like insane basic attack damage because it's going to rotate too fast every time. And so that's why you have heroes like Shimbi with the double dash, right? But then she doesn't do insane melee damage. So I think you guys are definitely on the right track when it comes to that. And like you're the math expert, so you know what you're doing.
it looks really good numbers wise, and even running around the map feels really good.
I mean, you gotta let me
So
play it then. Don't tease me like that.
it feels really good.
I'm
And like just being in the spaces, it
yeah.
feels really, really good, and it's actually really cool in like drawing up the map and stuff and thinking of compelling areas and compelling combat spaces. We fell upon things from Legacy. Like, do you remember in the mid lane when you could jump down through the flowers into the jungle?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Remember that little path that brought you to a little point where you could jump down into the jungle buff?
Yep, yeah.
Like it was just a
I do.
little edge, like that feature. It was kind of like, oh, hey, if I wanted to bring some elevation to the jungle, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Like that was from Legacy. So all of these kind of legacy features started to kind of creep up into these ideas that we wanted to implement for our map. Not saying that they're all in there, but
Yep.
it was really cool that we could think of compelling spaces that also harken back to legacy and not so much monolith. The more we're looking at it, monolith really wasn't compelling, was it?
It wasn't. I think you know what was good about Monolith though was that I really liked the gameplay on Monolith.
Yeah.
Not so much the map, but the gameplay was really good. And I think you said this a few minutes ago that it's more like you want to hit that Monolith gameplay.
There's a point
When
in
it
there,
was at a
yeah.
certain point, right? There was a point
Yeah.
at Monolith where the gameplay just felt so good,
Yeah.
and it kind of just turned to but there was a point where the
When was that
game just felt
for you?
good.
When was that for you?
Um, I think that I can't remember what name of the patch was. I think it might be 42. I think that's the number that comes to my head. But
Like
like
pre
maybe I can,
42.
yeah, something like that. I think it's like 42 just screams at me whether it was 42 or whether it was like before 42. But something about 42 comes to mind. I can like check my videos and then I'll be able to tell you.
Do you remember
But
what changed from what you're thinking of to make it not good? Because that's actually how I think of it. Because there was a point where attack speed increased.
yeah.
Then there was a point where movement speed changed actually twice in on Monolith. There was its first one, which was super fast. There
Yep.
was a second one that slowed it down a bit, and then there was one that kind of tweaked it. Chat's here saying 42 is the new cards. Yeah, so it's not that. I think
Okay. So
40.
maybe that's why it sticks out to me.
I think 40 was the crazy high attack speed. So do you remember that
I
changed?
actually like, yeah, I actually like the attack speed.
Okay.
I don't know how you guys feel about it. I remember speaking to you at the time, but I don't know how you feel about it now. But I'll let you know why I like it, because when you're playing a 3D game, and this is gonna sound really weird to some people, but you perceive time differently when you're playing something in 3D than you do when it's in 2D, right? So in 2D, you can have like an ability, right? In League for example, that charges up. And because 2D looks like you're playing chess, you have that extra time to react to everything. In 3D, things just happen a lot quicker, and it's not like they're happening a lot quicker. It just they look like they're happening a lot
Right.
quicker because you don't see it as quickly, right? Because when you see things in 2D, there's a little more space and you see
Yeah.
things a lot quicker.
Well,
In 3D, that doesn't happen, right?
it's a entirely different
And
perspective. Yeah.
exactly. And so that might be like, hey, then in that sense, you should make attack speed slower. But I think when you make attack speed slower, it just makes the game a lot more boring because you're not
Right.
doing as many things. When in 3D, you always want to be immersed in something, right? So I like the fast attack speed. Whether that comes at the price of reducing damage, I don't know. It's about finding that balance. But I definitely did like the attack speed uh in the like final iteration of Paragon. Maybe it was a bit too fast, but I know Legacy attack speed, it was just too slow. I wonder like what are you guys like? I don't know if you're publicly saying or whatever, but I've just wondered what you guys are doing with that.
We're testing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your
We're
personal
testing.
thoughts on it? I guess.
Oh, me personally, um, uh, I, I mean, you definitely got used to the higher attack speed. I guess it felt more shooter. It just kind
Yeah.
of, what I kind of reminisce about, the like monolith attack speed. Not legacy attack speed was just dumb. It was way too slow.
Yeah.
Like the first iteration of monolith attack speed, that just it just felt a little bit right, a little bit
Yeah.
more right than a higher attack speed. Even though it was compelling in its own way, it just kind of depends on what kind of basic attack dynamic we want in our game, right?
Yeah.
And to that, I'll say the word testing.
Yeah, I think the thing is
We
with
are
a
testing.
MOBA, everything's a cost, right? So
Yeah,
if you put higher attack speed, you're sacrificing strategy
yeah,
because now people can't think as much when they make a decision, right? And
yeah.
everything's an opportunity cost. So, but yeah,
Absolutely.
it's good that you guys are at least testing it. So that means you're open to changing it or finding the right balance.
So next question would be about um, kind of a quest system we're thinking about. Have you
Okay.
ever played Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah, I have. I have.
So you know how they have quests: hit
Yeah.
X amount of heroes or deal X amount of damage and collect X amount of regeneration globes, whatever.
Yeah.
We're thinking
Uh.
of a similar like system
Okay.
for heroes. So, Countess. Shadow Slip on X targets and gain. And after you do that in one match, gain X mana, or I don't know, like something like that. The philosophy behind it is you're essentially adding a third currency. There's hero experience, there's amber, which we're gonna call it,
Yeah.
and then there's this extra currency that you're now bringing in, which is people's execution, right? Like,
Yeah.
and people's choices. Like, yes, you have to still execute to gather experience in amber, but it's more of a direct sort of kind of resource you're collecting,
Yeah.
that you can empower your heroes with, and your abilities change, and and you would pick maybe between 1 to 2 of them, to kind of, maybe one's a little bit more offensive, one's a little bit more defensive of kind of a quest sort of thing. What do you
Um,
think about a system like that?
okay, so it definitely sounds interesting, and it definitely sounds more like a luxury system in the sense that now you've got three systems. You just like it's like one system is relatively easy to balance, right? Let's say balancing the first system is 10. Balancing the second system is now 100, but balancing the third system is now like a million times difficult. I feel like it gets exponentially
Right.
difficult when you're juggling more numbers.
Right.
Um, because if you look at Heroes of the Storm, they made everything else super simple, right?
Yeah.
Leveling is super simple. You don't have to run around, you don't have to last hit, you don't have to do anything. And the quest system is like their one complex system, and that allows them to balance the game around that, right? And keep everything balanced. Now, when you introduce a currency, an item shop, and now you introduce like you need to last it to get XP as well, and now you need to do quests as well. You add more complications for not only yourself as a balancing team, but you also add that cost on a player to like, hey, I need to last it, I need to calculate my gold, and I need to do these quests on top of all these other things I need to do in a MOBA. I think it just becomes a bit more complicated. So you should. So I at least wouldn't put that into the game at the start. I think it might be cool to have on some heroes as a passive, right? So
Right.
like Grux in the first iteration of Grux, when he got a last hit, he got like plus something health, +3 to his max health.
Huh.
That was super overpowered. Like he would have like 10k health at the end of a long match because you just farm, right? But passives, I think if that's what if you guys really like the quest idea, go for passives. I think once you have a lot of players doing this quest system, it's gonna become next to impossible to balance, and you kind of increase the barrier to entry for players. You kind of want to make it easy to learn, hard to master. With a quest system, you just make it hard to learn, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Awesome feedback. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
It's something we're toying with, I suppose. What was the biggest issue behind hero design in Paragon, in your opinion?
Um, I think it was the fact that they never found product market fit. That's basically what it comes down to, right? They had all the we know they had all these cool heroes. Like
Right.
we've seen some really cool ones, and they could just never release them because they never felt like the map was perfect. It was good enough. People were staying, and so that was probably my biggest problem with hero design was there weren't any cool heroes, right?
Yeah.
I mean there were, but they didn't get released. So that's my biggest issue. But I think, and this is my opinion, and my opinion is like could definitely be wrong, but my opinion is that at an early stage for you guys, I think hero design is like you should just I think you're copying the themes of Paragon Heroes. And so in my mind, that means you're making them exactly the same, right? Or like almost 90% the same. So I think you should just copy Paragon Heroes, and then start to work on some really cool heroes after you see that, the core of the game works.
Right.
And then at that point, I would just say, just release some like, just go crazy. Release a hero that can like travel through walls, or you know has like
Right.
something more interesting than like two legs. That would just be way
Yep.
better.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. I'm with you.
so yeah, but I think it just comes down to like once you have product market fit, then you can go crazy and introduce some really amazing things because people are going to play your game regardless because it's one hero out of 50 or for
Right.
example.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Um, or Prime. What iteration did you like the most? Find most compelling? Good points? Bad points? What would you like to see with or Prime? The main PVE objective in a MOBA.
So I really like the donkey mechanic on Legacy. I was a huge fan of that. Then I also really like the prime fights on Monolith. So I like them equally. The problem I recently discovered was I was playing Overthrow, the other another remake
Right.
of Paragon. I don't know if you've played it.
Nope.
But the map design means that all dunking just doesn't work on that map, and like it's one guy who's made it, so I just give my feedback, and it's a project for him. It's nothing crazy, so if he likes it, that's cool. But I just find that the map isn't suited for dunking, and I think the problems that all prime dunking introduced, like increased match times, and you know, um, you could end up with someone who picks up the all buff and just trolls. It's just like
Right.
that might be more hassle than it's worth.
Okay.
I think just securing the prime buff for now is just like the easiest way. I think that's how it works in most MOBAs, although I haven't played many other MOBAs. I think just securing the buff is fine. And maybe in the future adding all prime dunking would be cool. But like my opinion might change. I might see your map and be like, this map is sick, and all prime dunking definitely would like enhance the experience, right? Or I might see the map and be like, hey, this map just doesn't work with dunking. So I think it just really depends on how you guys design the map. But
What would be, theoretically speaking, what would be a map that works?
definitely a map more legacy size than Monolith. Just because you can't have someone running to the other side of the map that quickly without a team having a chance to react. Um, I I just I haven't looked into it enough to give you like an answer that I'd feel comfortable like giving, because I
Right.
want to do you guys
Sure.
justice as well. So I'm just gonna leave it like, look, I don't think all prime dunking should be in like should ever be part of Paragon again, or any remake of Paragon, because it just adds unnecessary complications, right? Same with the quest
Right.
system. It's nice to have, but is the work required to get it to the point where it's really nice to have worth the effort?
Right.
Right, that's everything is a price, right? And is the price you're paying for this too high? I think it's one of those things that it is, but it's just my opinion. You guys probably done the math and know way better than me.
Hey, uh, you, that's a very, very legitimate concern. If we were aware of exactly that.
As long
We're
as you don't have
asking.
Muriel who can pick up the buff and then ult to it, I think it'll be okay to at least test it out.
Ah, good point. Absolutely. Okay. What about raptors? Fangtooth, the secondary PVE objective of a MOBA.
Yeah, I liked it. I think the Raptor change was great. I really liked it. So anything along those lines is cool, because it just gives you that advantage for winning a team fight. Like, okay, you want a team fight. Um, let's go do Raptors. And doing Raptors is like, again, a cost. You either go Raptors and you might be able to take a tier two depending on where it is in the game. But you can get Raptors and you can go back to base, reset, and then farm, and you've got that little edge. Or you can push a tier two and, maybe do Raptors as well. That was kind of the thing. Let's take the tower, go do Raptors, and that gets you ahead. But what I think Raptors also allows that maybe not a lot of people saw was that it actually gives the other team an opportunity to kind of not lose everything, right?
Right.
Because you're like, hey, I'll do a tier two and then I'll go get Raptors, instead of I'll go do a tier two and then maybe I'll get an inhib. And if I get an inhib, the enemy team's severely disadvantaged. The fact that you're like, hey, I'll do a tier two, go Raptors, and that's playing the game safe, gives the other team a chance to really come back. And that's what I liked about Raptors as well. So definitely having some sort of an objective that, as you start to get more of it, increases your power over time would be pretty cool.
Okay. Have you played League Legends? Are you familiar with their Drake system? Have you
Um,
Smite's Gold Fury?
I know I played like a bit of Smite, so the Gold Fury just gives you like a gold buff, right?
Yeah, just gold
Like
buff.
money buff, right? Basically. Um, but I haven't played League, so I have no idea.
Okay.
Is that the kind of thing that you guys are looking to explore, or?
Well, just looking at other, looking at successful competition and seeing what,
Yeah.
obviously they're doing something right. So try to think of what that what's causing that success and how we can adapt or tap into that or make our own and stuff like that. So if you, a lot of people have said League of Legends Drake's system is really good. Jay Leo, Drake's system is very, very compelling. Kib
Yep.
would go with a League of Legends Drake-like system. Mikey, League of Legends Drake system is really, really good. So
Yeah, so
a lot of
I've
people.
never played League, so I guess just
Right.
their advice is probably way better than mine. 'Cause I have no idea what that system is.
Right. So, but yeah, you justifying the existence of a secondary objective is
Exactly. Yeah.
is fundamental because, you know, some people may not feel that is necessary. You know,
I mean, like
but,
if you're saying Jay Leo Micah was like that, the League way is the way to go, right? As a secondary objective, that makes perfect sense. I think having some secondary objective that isn't game ending like Prime, but also kind of makes you that decision like, hey, do I get a tower here? Do I press the advantage or do I fall back and get this buff? Like, I don't know, but I think that sounds a lot better than just, hey, let's go get a tower or let's just keep pushing. Like,
right.
it just sounds more fun to me.
All right. Next one is the jungle, just in general, because the jungle was really not that compelling for a lot of Monolith, and a lot of people loved Legacy and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on the just literally the entire jungle and the minions and how that all worked?
I liked so I like both jungles to be honest. I think the problem is that we played Monolith for so long that it kind of just grew on you.
Yeah.
So whether I liked it at the start, I can't even remember. I think honestly, I actually think I hated. From what I remember when I went to Epic, I think I hated Monolith, and I was genuinely consider quitting YouTube. But the Monolith that I played at Epic, and it was called something else. It wasn't even Monolith. It was a lot different to what they eventually released.
That's right. I totally
You
forgot
remember,
that
right?
they invited a whole bunch of you guys.
Yeah, and so like for me, so like that jungle was terrible, the one that I tested.
Okay.
Monolith was cool. I liked it. I liked that it was nice and compact, and that's the same with Legacy, right? It's nice and compact, and that means that team fights are more, in my opinion, more impactful in the sense that because everything is so close together, it's like if I use my disengage to engage someone, now I really have to commit to this fight or I get lucky to get out, right? In a larger jungle, which is like overthrow, that jungle just means that no one ever commits to team fights because you can escape through like 10 different routes. So I think having a jungle like Legacy and Monolith is like the way to go. And from your video, I see it's quite compact anyways. From this like trailer thingy that I'm watching now. So it's quite compact. In terms of like jungle minions and camps, I think that the ideal number was like what Legacy had or what Monolith had. I can't remember exactly how many Legacy had now.
Started with 3, right?
They
4?
had the
Started with
red buff,
1.
red and blue
Oh, that's
on either side. Then
Right.
they had 2 white camps where the red was, and then I think a third where the blue was. So what's that? Five jungle camps for each team, I guess. So I think that's the right number, right? If you start to have too many, I think then you lose that lane commitment. Like, hey, there's like 10 jungle
Right.
camps on one side of the map. Let's just never lane and go jungle and take farm because my jungle is never going to be able to rotate that fast to cover 10 camps. So I think 5 is like the ideal number to go with. But again, like you guys do the math and you know way better than me. But I think, and I would like to see some cool buffs in the jungle. Like I like the fact that you could get the red buff, and the blue buff. But then again, I did really like the river buffs that they had in Monolith. I think that thing was cool. Maybe it's not so much the shadow buff, but the other ones were cool.
Yeah, not shadow buff. Okay, so team fights, more compact jungle spaces were more meaningful. Less jungle camps is more. Well, I shouldn't say less. Well, less.
Well,
than
yeah, less is
Monolith.
more, as they say, right?
Yeah.
Less is more.
Cool buffs in the jungle. River buffs were great. Not the shadow buff. Nice. Okay. Any comment on how they were just stand there and LMB?
I think again, like I think I'm sure they had like a way cooler stuff further down the line. There's just like no need to invest in that stuff at the moment, right? I'm pretty sure when I went there they showed us some cool stuff to
Okay.
do with like minions and stuff like that. Again, like that's luxury stuff. So for in terms of Paragon, it never really bothered me. In terms of this game, like if it's relatively simple to do, then like, cool, add some like really cool interaction. I know like in League, although never played it, I've seen the dragon comes flying down. I don't know how it fights or whatever, but I've seen the dragon just sort of comes flying down. Like that stuff is cool and all, but it's more like a luxury.
Right.
So maybe introduce something cool, but I wouldn't worry about it. I think having a river off stand there and hit you is perfectly fine with me. It's probably
Right.
fine with everyone.
So here's a question for you: there was no, if there's no, not maybe not sophistication, but complexity to these systems, and if it was a mass of simplified systems, do you think that is a large part of what didn't keep people in the game, and that it was one simple system to master after another after another? As soon as you got familiar with one system, you realize there wasn't much complexity to it and move on to the next. And as you played the game, you figured it out, just kind of learned that it was the same kind of gameplay with not much depth. And
Yeah,
did
I
do you know what I
I
mean?
think I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you
I
know,
think yeah, I think I get what you're saying. It's like, hey, it's everything is so simple, so maybe that's why people didn't stay, right? Because there was nothing to master. So it's easy to learn and then easy to master, essentially.
right,
Um, I don't know if that was the case. Because like the majority of people were like in silver and gold, so there definitely was some room to master. It's not like everyone was a great player. I
right,
actually don't really know why people didn't come back to Paragon, and I don't think Epic could pinpoint it either. Because if they could, then they would have at least tried to address it.
right,
Um, I just like I have no idea. I don't even think it was the cards. I thought the card system was fine. The game was, the game ran really well. It was polished. It looked nice. The heroes were sick. In terms of how they looked, ability wise, they could have added. I guess they could have added more interesting heroes, but I don't think they were ever confident in, the base of the core mechanics, right?
right.
Judging from how often they changed them.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't really know. I don't know if you guys have done like a poll or something on like why people stop playing Legacy or why people stop playing Monolith, or at what point did people have to take a break from Monolith for a few days because they got bored?
Right.
That might be way more informative than anything I can give you, because like I don't
Okay.
really know. I don't really know, if I'm honest.
I I wouldn't really know either. I would, my
I,
kind of knee jerk react like answer might be that, yeah, maybe things were too simple, like just overall. Um uh
yeah, but then you look at Heroes of the Storm. That game is super simple. People still play it,
right,
so it's
right,
kind of difficult to pinpoint. Like, hey, do you make it as complex
right,
as League and Dota? But then, hey, if you make it super easy, Heroes of the Storm is doing just fine, right? So,
right. Well,
I think,
I think the elegance to Heroes of the Storm is that it's it's simple button wise, like,
yeah,
well, not button wise, like, you literally select what, 10 talents, that's
yeah,
it, like
yeah,
that's you have 10 choices to make,
yeah,
and everything else is how you play. That's it. Whereas, right, so like they've all what they've done is they've just shifted their the piece of the pie that is execution to to just how you play and how you master and how you execute in a game, and that's why they're doubling down on the quest system. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I don't know. It is definitely hard to say.
It is difficult to pinpoint, but I think what happened with Paragon, and look, when I started my company and then I went to raise like venture funding, right? One of the things they asked me is like, hey, what's your long-term vision for your company? Like, where do you see it in 5 to 10 years? And it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answer, right?
Right.
It's at the end of the day, it's like having your child. It's like, what do you want your child to be when they grow up? There's no right or wrong answer. He could be a doctor, he could be a footballer, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But you need to know what that long-term vision is for your company, for your game. And with Paragon, they didn't have any vision in terms of long-term vision. You know, there was
Right.
Steve, right? And Steve was like the godfather of Paragon, if you will. And when you get rid of the guy who's like the godfather, who has that long-term vision, everything around starts to come apart. And what you do is you start to patch it together with other people's vision. That doesn't work in a company. And I'll use Tekken as an example because that's something I've studied a lot now. In tech, what you'll often see is that the founders of the company will be there from the start of the company all the way to the exit of that company. So either the company sold or it'll go for an IPO. And then even then, the founder will probably stay on. Just look at Facebook, for example, right? Or
Right.
Snapchat, for example. And that's because these guys have that long-term vision, and that's what makes these companies successful. What
Right.
used to happen back in the old days was tech companies would raise hundreds of millions, that then the founder would exit, and then they'd put in a CEO and the company would just flop. That's why you've got companies like Amazon and Facebook around, because those companies no one even remembers the name of. And so it's really important that you guys definitely have a long-term vision for what you want to be, and that you have to double down on your vision. That vision could end up being completely wrong, but if you believe that's the correct vision,
Right.
9 times out of 10, with the information you already have about Paragon, it's going to be right. So as long as you have that vision for what you want this game to be, I think you just be fine. And that's
Awesome.
ultimately what led Paragon to collapse, lack of vision, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. And yeah, nicely put.
Thank you.
Nicely put. After that, harvesters.
I was actually gonna. That was actually one of my questions, but yeah.
What did you think? Would you like to see them back? How would you like to see them back? Etc. Etc.
Uh, I think harvesters were a cool idea. In reality, maybe not so much. Who wants to sit on a harvester for
Right.
like 10 seconds? Like,
Right.
that's the thing with 3D games, right? It's like you want to be doing something all the time. So I don't know. I liked it. Maybe harvesters. I think there was a point in Legacy, and I'm pretty sure that was a thing where it was just like a passive drip, right? You set it up and then
Yeah.
it like drips over time. I think that was a thing. So yeah, if you were gonna do it like that. Don't make people stand on it. Like, that's literally a pain.
Okay.
Um, if the map is monolith size, like I don't know what size it is, but if it is monolith size, then no harvesters. If it's legacy size, then you got room to add harvesters. And then I would do that. But you probably want to get feedback from competitive guys on that, because again, like, does harvesters add to like a competitive nature of the game, and is that element does that add to someone wanting to watch the game, right? Like, what does it's cool to have in theory, but does it add any excitement to the game is what I'm trying to say.
Majority of people. Majority of people think thinks it can work.
Okay. And
Yeah.
is that the competitive people? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it can or can't work.
Yeah.
I just really don't know. I don't really have a yes or no answer for you. So my
Okay.
opinion is that, like I said, if it's on a legacy size map, I think it's okay. If it's on a monolith size map, it's just too small, and then you've got too many things. So
Okay. No, that's that. I absolutely actually would agree with you there. Monolith was just too small. Like
yeah,
the compelling part of it was that it was another objective that, regardless of whether it was balanced to be actually significant, it would just be too small. Like
yeah,
doing it would just be turning around, and there it is, right? in the jungle. So,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
yeah. Lane buffs. So if they were symmetrical, you know how like his monolith was asymmetrical and one side had the advantage geometrically. If they were
Yeah.
symmetrical, if the map was symmetrical and all lanes had equal access to these lane buffs, what do you think? Like, was that compelling to fight over this extra little buff in lane?
Um, I I don't know, to be honest. Um, it's a good question. Um, I I, don't- I honestly had I wouldn't be. I guess it would just have to be like, hey, is this buff worth fighting over in the first place? Like, is this buff good enough? And then it also comes down to, hey, if all three lanes have a buff, or it's like, is this buff worth fighting over? And if it
Right.
is, then like, is that balance, or is this buff not worth fighting over? Then hey, why do we even have it in the first place?
Yeah.
Um, I just really don't know. Actually, I don't know how I feel about it. So yeah, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go with I don't know. Like I don't know what else to
Sure.
say to be honest. Maybe when I
Yeah.
play it, and then I can give better feedback. But right now, I just don't
All
know.
right. No, that's exactly what some people have said. Um, not the we'll need to like play it, but like
Yeah,
the, is if it's not worth it, then why is it there? And if it is worth it, then it's usually kind of like completely snowbally and
exactly.
whatever. So, okay, yeah, absolutely. Towers.
Okay.
That I don't think I need to explain anything else about that question. Towers.
Uh, so look, towers used to just get ripped apart by the community. Um, and I, d- I don't know. I think they should do more damage, right? And the damage should kind of I don't know if it's scaled over time in Legacy or I mean in Monolith. I can't remember. I never tested it, so I don't know. But it should definitely hurt a lot more. But it's about finding that balance where, hey, this team has two people under an inhibitor, and we have five. Like, three of their players aren't respawning for another 40 seconds. That signals to me that a tower should go, that like an inhibitor should go down, right?
Right.
But it shouldn't signal to me that hey, they can just recklessly dive the tower with no minions
Right.
and get away with it. So I think definitely make the towers do a little bit more damage. If it was me, and give them a bit more health. I feel like they were a lot like paper, especially I think it was the tier 1 and tier 2. But then like, hey, give them like protection for the first 10 minutes or first 5 minutes, right? To allow people to lane and like don't and that doesn't punish people who die in the first few minutes. Like say
Right.
you die at minute 1 or 2, right? You
Right.
could often lose your tower in like 3 minutes on Monolith.
Or
Um,
or yeah, like the 5 minute mark, your tower's half dead. And
exactly,
you're like,
and that
what?
kind of like now I got to play super safe, and that just throws me behind. Maybe give the tower a bit more. I think towers had protection to like minute 7, or they should have protection to minute 7,
Yeah.
depending on where you want game times to fall.
Right.
But give towers some protection, and then yeah, sure. 20 minutes into a game, a tier 1 should be paper, right? You're
Right.
like super fed, and it should go down easy. So yeah. I know I think I don't know if it was you guys, but someone wanted to add like tracking or something. Like if you
Uh,
leave the range or something. I don't know if
yeah.
that was you
So
guys.
in every other MOBA, it's like um, a tower shot is charge up, then release of the projectile, and then the projectile hits you. Like that
Yeah.
entire phase, once it's locked on to somebody, like nothing
Yeah.
stops that unless
Even
you
if they leave range.
even if they leave range. And other than if you become untargetable,
Okay.
like stasis makes you
Yeah.
untargetable, then obviously the tower, like you break that because you're untargetable. That's the only. I'm pretty sure that's actually literally the only mechanic that actually
And
breaks tower shots.
like allies can block it, right, as well.
In
Or is that
others,
not a thing?
no.
Okay. So So here's the problem with like I don't know if you guys are doing that, but here's the problem with doing that in 3D. It's like impossible. Like if I'm running away from something in 2D, I can clearly see what's coming from behind me
Right.
and I can travel forward, right? Because of the
Right.
space. Like I'm like at the center of my screen and I can see basically 360 around me.
Right.
In 3D, you can't see behind you. So having something that tracks you, like sure you can have a GTFO, that's fine, that's the ultimate. But having that on a tower just seems like hey, I could never see when that shot is coming. I can't see how
Right.
far away it is.
Right.
I don't know when to stasis or whatever. So I don't know if that was you guys who were
Hmm.
thinking about it, but definitely I would never include that in a 3D game. That just, in my
Or
opinion, like
just have a very well designed just shot where you can, you know, the sound, the visual, you just know that it's coming and stuff like. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, but in 3D, like it's like, hey, this tower shot me and it went through my teammate. Uh, like I
Yeah.
think you just
Yeah.
introduce more problems than it's worth. Just do what Paragon did, and they tested that stuff, right? They literally had people come in and try to figure out like, hey, did new people understand what happened if a tower tracked them? No one had any idea because in 3D it's completely different.
Hmm.
That's why you like. I don't even think there's a 3D game that I've played where something tracks you that well.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, that's the problem with tracking stuff in 3D. It's like impossible to do because you don't see 360 all the time. So I don't know if that's something you're doing, but I would definitely not introduce that.
So that's one area where you have to make a subjective decision. Is it, do we just go with MOBA standard, or do we go with shooter standard? And that's like, it's it's almost like philosophical at that point. Um, you know, like, do you just gonna accept that that's gonna work more like a MOBA, or do you just gonna accept that it works more like a shooter?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it comes down to the question like, are you making a shooter MOBA or are you making a MOBA shooter?
right,
That's
exactly.
really what it comes down to, right? But I just think tracking, regardless of if you're making either, just from like a user standpoint, and this is something I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on simply designing an onboarding for an app. So 5 pages.
Right,
We sat down with so many people, and and it's gonna sound rude, but people are stupid in general, right? They just don't understand basic stuff. Gamers do, but people don't, right? People who don't play games all the time, or people who are new to games. Like we have a skip button on our app, right? That
right,
allows people to skip stuff. And we tested that with people and they still couldn't. We put it in the top right finally, but we put it in other places. People just didn't understand like how to skip something. And I think you'll have this a similar problem where people just don't understand why they got shot. Like they don't know,
right.
did I get hit by an ability? Did I get hit by a tower? Like what hit me? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think you can solve that with a visual cue or
Hmm.
like any sort of signals because you have no idea what hit you because it hit you from behind. Whereas anytime I get hit from behind in Paragon, I know a hero hit me, right? I know it's an enemy. But now I have to be like, hey, was it an enemy or did the tower just track me? I have no idea. So yeah, so just think about those things.
Okay. No, that's really good. That's really good. Something I will be bringing up for sure.
Yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
see people in your chat saying it's for gamers, and I understand it's for gamers, but at the end of the day, like we are educated. When I say gamers, I mean people that play Paragon. Like we understand this, but if you want a game to be successful, you don't make it complicated. I know this is more to your chat, not to you guys, but you don't make it complicated. You make it easy to learn, hard to master. That's basically why Fortnite's so successful, right? Super easy to learn, hard to master. Same with Call of Duty, super easy to learn, hard to master. If you make stuff like complex
Right,
mechanics, although it does seem like a great idea, right? It punishes people for diving and then getting away for
right,
free. You just introduce like this
right.
complexity that's unnecessary.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. There's definitely some merit to that. Absolutely. What's next? Oh, lane minions. Any
Sorry, was that lane minions?
lane minions? Yeah. Any
Uh,
comments about lane minions?
Nah, I think the Paragon one, that's one of the things that were really good. The minions were good. Waves put I know people were like, oh, these waves are pushing like crazy. Like, dude, 25 minutes into a game, they have to. Like I like minions in Paragon. I think they were perfectly fine. So
Right.
I don't have any complaints there.
Execution mechanic?
In terms of like Feng Mao's ult when it executed people.
No, the
Or
lane minion.
right, right. Honestly don't mind it. Like, to be honest, it made the game easy, right? But at the end of the day, the people that were gonna last it were gonna last it anyways. The people that weren't gonna last it, I never really saw them improve that much, if I'm honest.
Right.
So I don't think it added too much. I would definitely avoid it if you can to start with.
Right.
But it's one of those things where Epic obviously felt like people, like I said, people just don't understand. So
Right.
obviously people didn't understand how to last it. And okay, you could introduce a tutorial, but the tutorial doesn't solve. Like, I've seen companies with amazing tutorials, but that doesn't solve issues.
Right.
So maybe avoid it if you can at first. And I like that. That's a good question you guys are bringing up because it means you're thinking about it. Avoid it if you can, and then if you find, hey, bronze players are just not last hitting, then maybe you got to introduce this mechanic.
Right. Okay. Inhibitors. What do you think about inhibitors? Basically, should they respawn? Basically, that's what everybody talks about.
I I think that just comes down to like how you guys are doing game time. If
Right.
inhibs fall at 20 minutes, then yeah, maybe they should respawn. If inhibs you're finding us falling at like 40 minutes, then personally I don't want to play a 45 to 60-minute game. So then no. So yeah, just depends what kind of time frames you want to hit.
Okay. Anything about vision or verticality in the map at all?
I think again, verticality, the reason why I think Epic didn't add too much of it, and I did play a version of a map where there was a lot of verticality. Again, you just add complexities to it. So one, again, people just don't know what's going on. And it might sound, hey, why are you balancing for these people? It turns out that these people are like 99% of the population. So if you want anything to be successful ever, you need to take those people into account, right? And it becomes really difficult to balance heroes with verticality. So I would say use it, but use it. Uh, just be. It's like having too much power. With great power comes great responsibility, right? You got to be really careful with how you use verticality. I've seen some maps where the verticality was like ridiculous. You could drop for like a whole 5 seconds. That's how much verticality there was.
Yeah.
And that just becomes like, well, like why do you need to do that?
Right.
Why? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But like you said, having that thing in the jungle, where you could like Grux could pull someone down into the jungle when they were in lane.
Yeah.
That's so cool because one, that's like more of a skill thing. You have to wait, you have to time it. You might not have vision. If you put a ward there, now you have vision. That stuff's cool. So I would say, yeah, definitely add verticality, but just be careful with how much there is in the game, I would say.
Okay. Careful with how much. Okay. Next big system is itemization system.
Okay.
So general things right off the bat. Do you want anything you want to say?
I guess the question is like, what item system are you going for, and then we can dive into it.
Okay. So something similar to legacy system, but different in its presentation and kind of how it works, but essentially legacy's system, but definitely with some key changes. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it says on your thing item shop, so I'm guessing that you're not doing decks, but I don't know. Um,
Well, every MOBA has, you know, like God build or um, what does League call it? Hero builder, where you
okay,
can kind of like you can kind of customize like what your shop comes up with. Like you
yeah,
have like your build, your own personal build that's there, but then you still have access. There'll definitely be something like that. There'll definitely be, and like depends on how much we want to emphasize, you know, that fact. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, there's definitely gonna be something like that. Yeah.
I just think in this scenario, it's where 2D, 3D doesn't matter. I just think using like a tried and tested and basically the MOBA standard system is just going to be better. I mean, there's a reason. There's probably, I'm sure Riot tested countless variations of an item shop before settling on this one. So I just think using something that's tried and tested just gives you like an easier way to like move forward. The card system in Legacy was I liked it a lot. Um, I think you'll probably remember when they had like energy and physical damage, and you had to buy
Yeah.
energy damage for certain heroes and physical damage for others. I thought that was cool. But a lot of the cards, like you know how on Monolith, the new card system, like there were really cool card effects. Um, Awaken the Emmerich comes to mind, although that was kind of ridiculous. But you know, there's nothing stopping. There was nothing stopping Epic from putting those effects on cards from Legacy, right? And then just balancing them according to that as well. You'll probably be able to balance way better than I ever could with your math. But I think just using the League or Smite's the one that I played more. So I think they're similar, but I'm not sure. But yeah, just being able to buy items from a shop is easier.
Right.
Um, whether that's like buying cards or whatever, maybe. But I just think that way's easier than building a deck outside because it does restrict choice. And I think that might make it boring for people. Is right. Hey, I have to play this deck all the time.
Right.
But hey, if I had 1,000 items in a shop, for example, then I could just like mess around when I'm super far ahead now, and
Right.
that might make things more fun for them.
Right. No, absolutely. Okay. You said you played Smite, so you know Smite's Relic system?
Yeah, we get like 2 relics or some stuff.
Yeah. What do you think of a system like that?
Uh, I just think one of the relics is like a blink, right? I think.
Mm, yeah.
And I think that's cool. That's sort of like League. I know in League you have like Flash or
Summoner
something,
relics, yeah, or as summoner
or,
spells, yeah.
or something. Yeah, I don't know. I think it sounds cool. But I would kind of just like to have them on cards instead. If I'm honest, I don't know if adding relics. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it is cool to give everyone a blink and then it's on a really long ass cooldown. But then, hey, if you take a blink, then you might not have this other spell that's really cool. Um, but
Yeah.
then does that mean you can never have a blink on a card? Like, I don't know how that works. To be honest, I don't know too much about the relic system. Like in Smite, I just use the blink, and like even when you hit the level to buy another one, I never buy it because I'm like such a noob. So I'm the last person to be giving advice on this.
That's all right. Any any other comments on the itemization system, like overall things, or
Not really. I think you probably have the same opinions that most of us do had about Paragon, so you kind of know where to improve, what things were good and what things were bad.
yeah,
Um, and I think the key is just like balancing it right. That's all
yeah,
I was saying. Sometimes the balance in Paragon is a bit ridiculous,
yeah.
but I'm sure you guys can get it right.
Balance, balance, balance. Yep.
That's what it comes down to, right?
Um. Okay. So then I have um two other kind of topics. One's the competitive scene. I don't know if you want to give any thoughts or feedback on that?
Um, I didn't like. I was never super competitive, and I'm not really a super competitive kind of person.
Right.
And like I don't have an like nowhere near like I probably like 1% the knowledge that people like Jay Leo, Mikey, and Blood Mortius do. So I won't give any opinion too much on the competitive side. I will say that if you balance from like the top down, it probably makes a better experience than balancing from the bottom up.
Right.
Um, and that's just something I've learned in general in everything actually. If you go from top up, you generally have top to bottom, you generally have better results from bottom to up.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
speak to those guys, man. Like I'm sure you already
Oh
have,
yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. They've given some really good feedback. Just if you had any things that you thought would be good for us, to keep in mind.
Hey, make a replay system. That's competitive, right? Make a replay system so people can cast that them games. That's what I'm saying.
Good replay system. I don't know how many times yeah, it was terrible. The replay system. Um, I'm creating a whole new um, um, category for you because I want your opinions on like community involvement stuff, like how to work with influencers, and I was part of it just like you were with Epic, and what feedback do you have on that? Like, what were things that you appreciated that Epic did? What could have they done better? What did they not do at all? Like that sort of thing. What's the best way, to involve
Um,
people like you and me?
I think Epic did a good job. They were definitely, I think they were fair about it. Like, I don't think there was any person that got content before other people or that I'm aware of. Kind of everyone who was really contributing, um, got invited to like the community group, let's call it. And they all had the same information. I think working with content creators and stuff is a must in like this day and age for video games. But like you have access to so many because of Paragon. So I
Right.
would just do what Epic did, and you kind of know what they did.
Right.
Encourage just like encourage that conversation with people in the community because often they know what their audience want, right?
Right.
Like like you would read comments about your audience, so you get their like general tastes on say a new hero, right? And then Epic never really, I don't think they ever really took that feedback on board. They were like, hey, only time they really gave that feedback, do you remember Shimby when Shimby came out and they got like a ton of negative feedback? They're like, hey, what do your audience think about this hero? Like, why do they not like it? Um,
Hmm.
I think getting our feedback more often would be probably be more beneficial.
Right.
Other than that, I think Epic did a really good job with the community, like KL, Chris. They were all really good guys. You could super approachable. So I think they actually did a brilliant job. That was one of the teams. That and the art team, I think, just were
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Okay. Um, so besides all the things that I can think of myself, make it content distribution and content slash involvement distribution. Like just make it fair.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
everybody gets stuff, and kind of try to limit exclusive things. Like I don't remember, we never did any like super exclusive things, eh? It was always like, hey, who wanted to, there was a one camp. I think it was last Halloween and
Yeah.
last Christmas or whatever. There was like, they wanted one every day to be something special, and we like kind of signed up for every day or something.
Yeah, yeah. So that was like we'd get codes, right? And then
Oh,
we'd
that's
give
right.
them away and stuff. I think that stuff is fine. I think that's okay. Like you give it to like the main people in your community and you reward them. Like at the end of the day, if you're constantly asking me for my feedback and I'm not trying to big up myself, but in general everyone's time is valuable. then I think it's fair to reward those people that, hey, I took time out every 2 weeks to come have a meeting with you guys and give you feedback on your game that's making you guys money. I think it's fair to reward people for their time in that sense, right? I'm not
Right.
asking for money, but and I'm not saying it's me, I'm just saying in general, it's nice to reward a content creator because they get that feeling like, hey, this game, the company really cares about something like their community and
Right.
content creators that make content. So I think that's nice to do. You do have to be careful, right? Because then you alienate some of the smaller content creators, or maybe you overlook someone.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that is something you should do as well, especially in the early stages to get the game out there.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, and then the last one is monetization.
Yep.
The main one is unlocking heroes. That's a big topic.
Okay.
Heroes are like they're the most expensive asset to develop
Oh,
as a whole, as a group. So monetizing them appropriately is obviously super duper important. League, you have to unlock heroes. Smite, you have to unlock heroes. Heroes of the Storm, you have to unlock heroes. Dota doesn't, but they're a bit, yeah. A majority
yeah.
of them unlock, like they monetize their heroes pretty severely. What do you think about unlocking heroes?
Um, I honestly don't mind paying for heroes, but I think, and this is actually something I was thinking about a week ago. So, and this is slightly off topic, but I actually realized that what is great about the people building games like Paragon, right, is you've got a huge audience potential, especially if you get it on PlayStation. You got this huge audience, right? And what that means is that if you develop even a semi decent game, you will then have like really good, like a good player base, right? You could potentially have 10,000 people playing your game within 3 months after you release it because like I've got, you know, tens of thousands of followers. You have tens of thousands of followers. And what that means is that you can then raise money a lot easier from outside sources like a venture capital fund, like institutions. Then that means, coming back to the heroes, that you don't have to charge for people to buy a hero. You can charge them to buy the skin for the hero. And that inevitably will sell more, right? Because more people have access to that hero. So I think if you look at it that way, that's probably better.
Okay.
I have no idea what you're trying to like what your company's financials are. Um, but I think for your thing and knowing investors, because I've spent the last 3 months with like VCs, I think you've got a really good chance of raising large amounts of money if you had 10,000 people playing your game, and then you can worry about monetizing skins rather than monetizing heroes. And I think the reason, and I could be wrong, but I think the reason you're asking about monetizing heroes is because you guys need to monetize as quickly as possible because you're not funded by anything other than maybe Kickstarter when it goes live.
Right.
And then I think in Kickstarter, you're going to give away heroes, right? If people fund you. That's my guess.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily, I think Kickstarter is cool, but I've seen a lot of gaming companies get funding from VCs with a lot less progress and a lot smaller user base. So I think that's an opportunity you should look into if you can. Um, and then you don't have to
Okay.
worry about selling heroes because if you can avoid it, like I don't really know, that's just my opinion. Um, that selling heroes, you probably make more money selling the skins on a hero because you can sell them for a lot more. That's just my opinion. And I know that's kind of like going around the entire answer, but I just presume that Kickstarter selling heroes is how you're gonna go, and I don't know if that's the best way because we've already all played those heroes. If you're saying, hey, we're giving all the Paragon ones away for free, and then you're gonna introduce new heroes and charge me for it, That's completely different, but I don't know if that's what you're saying.
What do you mean?
Like, are you saying, hey, you get all the Paragon heroes for free, right? Like anything that Epic made, you get for free, and any heroes that we, the core or meta, make as new heroes, we will charge you for. Then that's a different conversation. Um, but I think keeping heroes free if you can is probably the best way, and I think the
Okay.
only way to do that is to get funding, right?
Yeah, it's a really tough. It's a tough thing to analyze and talk about. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I'm happy. Like I've raised and upwards of 6 7 figures now. So if you guys need to have that conversation off stream, I'm happy to go through that with you guys. And I only know VCs in the UK, but happy to like make some introductions. But we can talk about that later.
That's awesome. Oh, I appreciate that.
My pleasure, man. I want to see this game become successful. So
Me
anything I
too.
can do to help.
Me too. Okay. What about like loot boxes?
Um, yeah, loot boxes were fine. I can't even remember what they had in Paragon. Oh, the key and crate thingy.
Yeah.
Um, just let me buy what I want, I think. You know, like do a shop like Fortnite if you don't want people to be able to buy all the skins all the time. Just kind of let me buy what I want.
Right.
Don't you like I want to give you money, right? And I want to support you. But don't make it difficult for me to support you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's what I would say.
Okay. Any specifics on skins? Some people have said like keep them paid, like not really like
What
no
do you mean?
in-game currency, like stuff like that.
No, actually, there's a reason why companies do in-game currency. Um, I can't remember, but there's an actual reason why they do it. So you'll probably have to do currency. I think it might be a regulation thing, but I didn't look too much into it. So I think you have to do it anyways, regardless of what anyone says. So
Okay. Okay.
and it's just smart business, right? Like it
Right.
just makes sense.
Okay. What like any what did you like the best about skins or how they were implemented or stuff like that?
Um, I think Epic's approach was really smart, right? Let's introduce skins that require minimal effort and let's see how they're received. And then let's introduce skins like the you know the snake bike Murdoch and then the pirate Gideon, Undertow Gideon. I think just following that path would probably do really well. And then again, once you have product market fit, just smash out some tier fours. Like
Right.
at that point, if you're making good money and you're funded, like why not, right? You know you're gonna get that return on hiring that person to make a hero or dedicating resources to it. So just do it. I think.
Okay. Um. Okay. Do you think season passes could work in a MOBA
Yeah,
environment?
yeah. Do a season pass. Do like, hey, kill 100 minions or kill 1,000 minions in the week and unlock some certain stuff and definitely do that stuff. Like, dude, dangle that kind of stuff in front of people. They'll like it. Like, it just brings people back. Like, I play Fortnite just to complete the battle pass now. Like, I
Right.
don't really want to play it every day, but I just do it to complete the battle pass. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. And I think that's it, Ace.
Yeah.
That's it for me. What questions do you have?
So I don't know if you guys mentioned it, but are you guys planning to use travel mode?
No.
Okay, thank God. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad.
How come?
Dude, travel mode was just it was cool like for a bit, and then it was like, eh. Okay, so I'm sure everyone else in chat probably wants to know when you're releasing the game. I know from like building products that things always take longer than you anticipate. So I'm gonna say late next year as a guess, but let's see what you have to say.
Unknown. So
Unknown.
your guess is it could very much be.
Okay, and so when you say when I say release date, are we talking about playable concept, or are we talking about this is when you're gonna open it to the public? Um, what?
I can't say
Uh,
anything about any sort of like early access sort of a
okay,
thing or like a like a closed beta or open beta. Can't say anything about that. But
sure.
it's essentially everything is unknown yet. The entire focus now is proof of concept, both defining what that is and trying to share as much about our game and what we want to do with it as possible, but also proving it, right?
Okay,
Developing it enough so that we know that we can technically do that, and then like technically meaning like programming wise, like do it, and then show that we can do that, prove it, or proof and description of concept, basically is what it
okay,
should really be called, and so that we can, do right by our supporters and do the Kickstarter with tangible working evidence and promises, with the knowledge that we know that we can make up on any promises that we make, right?
okay. And how far along are you? Like, are you guys able to play a full game together, or are you still building out the map? And yeah, how far are you along with
I
heroes? Like,
can't answer that,
okay,
but I will. We're like really close to
okay.
our next milestone, which is POC and Kickstarter. Like we're, yeah.
Okay, and is POC, is that you're just gonna show us gameplay? Are we gonna are we gonna be able to get our hands on it or what?
Proof of concept's going to be a slew. It's going to be a whole campaign of
Okay,
us showing as much of the entire proposed game as possible and
okay,
showing it, detailing it, and proving that either we have it or we can do it.
okay,
That's what that is, and that's gonna be a whole campaign that um, you know we'll probably be teasing and building up over the past weeks and months.
okay. And how many people are on your team at the moment?
We got a few more people actually, and so I think we're almost 60. To be honest with you,
60.
yeah,
Jesus Christ. And I'm guessing everyone's part time then.
we're all volunteers. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And so, with Kickstarter, is a plan to raise enough money so that some of you are doing this full time? Like, what's that like?
Essentially, yeah.
Okay,
Kickstarter. The main focus of it is all the costs, right?
okay,
The software, the hardware, the servers, the all of those costs that
yeah,
we can do, or that we need, to get it to a point where people can play it, right?
okay,
And we can bring people in. And then the second priority after that is, yes, making sure that key developmental personnel can work on it, you know, full time, part time, or however much, is possible. And that'll be, I'm not entirely sure, but I would imagine stuff like that will be detailed in the Kickstarter campaign. Like stretch goals and or
yeah, yeah.
whatever that's like X amount is whatever the whole team is
Okay, yeah. No,
working
I was
or stuff like that.
just curious, wondering.
Yeah. So that's what
Okay.
that's gonna look like.
And what about like people that are testing the game on a sort of like balance level? Is the game like in a state where people are testing this? Do you have people testing it like a comp QA sort of team, or are you guys still, is that still too early?
Testing has occurred, yes.
Okay, and you have a comp and you have like experienced players, or at the moment it's just your volunteers? Like, how is that?
It's our like it's all internal people. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, and then
That
your plan is to like get more experienced people as sort of the proof of concept develops, or
sure. Yeah. Well, I would definitely imagine we will start as that becomes more necessary. We can,
yep.
get more people that are more focused on that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I think that's pretty much all the questions. I don't know if um anyone in chat had any questions, but that's all the questions for me. Like, I think it sounds really promising. I'm like eager to see the proof of concept. I think the Kickstarter's great publicity. Do you guys know how much you're trying to raise from Kickstarter, or are you still figuring that out?
I can't really say.
Okay,
I
fair enough.
know I know a few things, but
Okay.
I'm not. Yeah, I can't share, and B, I'm not totally sure myself.
Okay, sure, fine. No, because there's a lot of like I'll send you some links after, but there's a lot of companies that give you like loads of free stuff. Like I got tons of free money from Amazon in terms of grants, so servers and everything's paid for. You get loads of stuff for that for free, so I'll send that
For
across to you so you can have a look.
for
Like servers.
how
Um, pardon?
how do you have free servers? How do you
Like
have free
you know
Amazon
how
servers?
like you know how Amazon give you credits to like you pay for credits to use Amazon servers,
Okay.
like EC2 and stuff like that. They just give you credit to your account. So like they'll just put £1,000 worth of credits on your account. And so you can apply for these things. That's why I'm asking how much you're raising on Kickstarter, because
Oh,
it depends like, oh, are you raising a load of money? Like, are you gonna burn through £10,000 worth of servers, like server capacity every month? Then you
right.
probably won't qualify. Like, I have no idea. Probably someone in your engineering team knows, but you get loads of free stuff from these big companies. So definitely look into that. I can send you some links.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Absolutely.
So yeah, so definitely do that. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Kickstarter and seeing how many heroes you're gonna have on release as well.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the hardest things. You know, um, just getting them all in. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like you can just put 10 in to be honest, as long as you can 5v5. Was when Paragon first came out, there was like 11. I think it was 10
18?
at just some. No, no when it first when
16?
it was
15?
like no, there was way less than that. It
Really?
was yeah, it was like okay, it was I think Iggy and Severog were the first two heroes to come out right after Paragon released.
Severog was the first. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like you had Twin Blast, you had Sparrow, you had Murdoch, you had Gideon,
I would imagine
you
there's
had
12.
Rampage, you had Steel,
Gadget.
um, Gadget, you had Kalari, you had Muriel.
What are you? You're at 8 or 9?
I'm at 9, right?
Hmm.
I'm sure chat will help us out if we're missing one.
Gadgets.
Yeah, I got Kalari, I got Gadget, I got
Decker.
Muriel, I got Steel. Yeah, Deca, so that's 10.
That's 10. I honestly think there was only. Yeah.
Yeah.
There may have been
Oh,
only
Grux,
10.
we forgot
Oh,
Grux.
11. I think there
11.
was 12 because. Maybe. Severog was 11? Okay.
Howitzer, that's it, yeah.
Howitzer. Yeah,
Howitzer.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it
yeah.
was 12, right? So as long as you have 12, and then yeah, Iggy was the 13th hero. So Iggy was no, Severog was the 13th hero.
Severog was the first. That was the earliest. If you go into Paragon's YouTube channel, he's the
Oh yeah,
first
Feng Mao
released.
as well. So it was 13. Okay, 13, yeah. Cool.
All right,
There
so
we go. I
yeah,
think it's
sub
13
15.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was yeah. So anyways, I think that's enough heroes, right? Like
yeah.
it's enough that you can play the game and it's enough that you always have a choice of what you want to play.
Yeah.
So
Our priority will be as enough in each role. I'm sure that's that's what we will focus on, having healthy enough roster first
Yeah.
implemented, and then you can just kind of increase the numbers across the classes and roles and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that you're just going to use all of Epic's assets for now at the start, or are you making your own heroes?
New heroes will be, well, until we got everything implemented and in a good spot.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's
after that.
yeah, I think that's the right idea. But no, that's what I wanted to ask, and it's super exciting.
Yeah,
I kind of want to play it now, but I know these things take time.
we will be reaching out to people at some point, so
Yeah, I hope it's like within the next 2 hours. That'd be great.
next 2 hours, that'd be great. Hey, I wish. I just yeah, I want the vision to be back. I want community to be back, and
Yeah, me too, man. I played Overthrow, and like it just felt so much like Paragon. I was like, I need this game back in my life.
and that's one thing that we're really making sure is that it still feels like literally like combat and stuff, and that it feels very, very close, right? But not broken, which I love Paragon too much to not release it, or to release it broken, right? So like, yeah.
Yeah, you want to take your time with it and get it right.
So if it's different in some ways that are too core to what Paragon is, but it makes it not a broken game, that's fine by me, if you ask me.
Sounds like a good plan.
So
I'm with you on that one.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Ace. Super duper appreciate it. We'll maybe be in touch soon.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to hearing more.
Awesome. Have a great night.
All right. You too, man. See ya.
See you. Well, there you guys have it. Nice. Our 32-minute interview with RGSACE. Yeah. Some really good questions, really good discussions. Maybe a few little minor reveals, perhaps, or little tidbits of information that we haven't released before. But yeah, there you go. We're trying. We're trying hard. We're trying to do it right. We're trying to do it so that actually have a legitimate chance, a legitimate path forward to a sustainable game. So there you guys go. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys are on stream, we're not done. If you guys are watching on YouTube, let me know down to comments about anything that you agreed with, disagreed with, or have your own opinions. Please let me know down in the comments, and let me know. Stream, stick around. Don't go anywhere.